Give me 2 seconds. Story 7 has the detail that makes the whole situation feel staged. These viral Reddit stories start normal, then one tiny choice turns them into a problem nobody agrees on. Story 1 starts with the kind of moment most people would ignore. This sounds simple at first, until you hear what actually happened. You want me to be on time? Okay, down to the minute. The timekeeping system at my job runs on a 15-minute increment schedule. Basically, if you clock in during the first 7 minutes of the increment, it rounds you backward to the start of that segment. If you're in the last 7 minutes, it rounds you forward to the end of the segment. Example, you clock out at 4:52. Congrats, the system says you left at 4:45. Now, if you clock in and out multiple times a day, like for lunch, that's 4 punches and potentially up to 28 minutes lost or gained depending on where you land in those increments. Shortly after I started, I began getting flooded with emails about being short a few minutes on my timesheet and was told I had to submit PTO even though I worked full 8-hour days, sometimes more. It didn't matter that I was physically at work. If the system said I was short, I had to burn time off. So I started paying attention. Really close attention. Here's the twist, my employer doesn't pay overtime in cash, but they do give you 1.5x time off if you earn it. So 1 hour of OT equals 1.5 hours of PTO. With some strategic clocking in and out always landing on the helpful side of the 15-minute window, I've gotten good at squeezing out those 28 minutes extra a day. That adds up to 140 minutes, 2 hours 20 minutes, of overtime a week. Which, when converted at 1.5x, becomes 3.5 hours of PTO every week. All for doing exactly what they asked, watching the clock very closely. Thanks for the free time off. I still do not know what I would have done differently, and that is why this story stuck with me. The scary part is how ordinary the first warning sign felt. Story 2. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. I need a reality check, because this situation got messy fast. Support kept using voice messages, so I gave them a taste of their own medicine. Hi. I am a 35-year-old IT manager for a small family-run sales company. We recently moved from a very old ERP to a new platform that is modern, intuitive and much more efficient. Technically it is a great product. The problem is support. Their in-app support is fairly fast, but they reply almost only using voice messages. I stopped listening to voice notes years ago because they break focus and force you to replay things just to get basic info. Text lets me read, search and solve. Audio just slows everything down. I asked them many times to stop using audio and even told them I was hearing impaired. They ignored it. Yesterday the point-of-sale systems were not communicating with the local server, even though they were all online. I did my part and contacted support because it was beyond my pay grade. As usual, the first reply was an audio message. When they asked for the remote access ID, I sent it back as audio. Then I sent the password as audio too. Suddenly they switched to text. They asked for screenshots. Then they needed the admin credentials and I sent the long messy password with numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters via audio. From that point on everything was done in text, including today's follow-up. Turns out they know exactly how annoying voice messages are. They just do not care until it becomes their problem. I still do not know what I would have done differently, and that is why this story stuck with me. That is the moment where most people would pretend nothing was wrong. Story 3. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. I thought I knew who was wrong here, but the details changed everything. My competitive friend was always insulting my wine, so I tricked him into sampling and insulting his own. During the pandemic, I started making wines, beers, and meads for my friends. At the time, we lived in a country where it was hard to get alcohol and, due to the virus, we were all locked out of our primary supplier for over a year. No one could get alcohol. So, I started brewing again after a 15-year hiatus, dollar-upping my community, so to say. Well, it really irked this guy that people would trade me things for my wines and meads. It also really drove him nuts that I knew how to malt and basically make beer from feed grain, no home brew supply shops within 2,000 miles. So, at every opportunity, he was just piss insults on my wine. And yes, it was simple country wine but well crafted using local fruits. Clear. Balanced. Strong. Wapatui is what we used to call it back home. His wife would back him up. I always thought this was strange because I was delivering trunk loads of wine to my friends and people would hardly ever touch his wine at parties. Anyway, we were having a sampling night, which is how I met most of my people. And in front of the whole room full of people he pisses insults over this wine I'd poured. Well, I said, you made that one. I didn't want you to feel left out. They stayed 5 minutes max and shuffled out. I still do not know what I would have done differently, and that is why this story stuck with me. The scary part is how ordinary the first warning sign felt. Story 4. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. This sounds simple at first, until you hear what actually happened. I might be wrong for refusing to visit in-laws BC of house temp. My 36F husband's 37M family lives out of state. We are in the DC area and they live in southern Mississippi. Every summer, we spend 2 weeks visiting. My in-laws are great, except for one thing. They keep their house, in the summer, at 80 degrees. It's unbearable. I do not sleep. It makes me nauseous. If I try to ask for more AC, they oblige for 10 minutes then complain about being too cold. My husband is also miserable, but he deals with it. Tonight, I told him he's more than welcome to visit this summer, but I will not be joining him. It's not relaxing for me. I do not want to use my vacation time to be miserable for 2 weeks. He got upset and said spending time with his family and his wife together is important to him. He said I was being selfish. I am being selfish, but I don't think it's a bad thing here. I explained I understand that, but unless we can stay in other accommodations, like a hotel, or if his parents agree to make the interior cooler for the visit, I will stay behind. Of course, he wants to stay with his family. But he won't say anything to them about the temperature. This upset me. I told him part of being married is watching out for the well-being of your partner, and of course it escalated. So have at it. Ada for not visiting my in-laws until something changes. It seems like such a trivial issue, but it can be unbearable getting minimal sleep, sweating all the time, with no relief for 14 days straight. Editing to add, it would be difficult for them to travel to visit us, especially for 2 weeks. They do visit us, and we see them multiple times a year. Husband's relationship with my family is great. My family lives closer, so it's easy to spend a weekend with them here and there. I know how it looks from the outside, but I still think there is more to it. Who is wrong here? The scary part is how ordinary the first warning sign felt. Story 5. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. I need a reality check, because this situation got messy fast. My professor said any source is valid as long as I cite it properly. So I cited him. This was junior year, research methods class. Our professor, I'll call him Dr. K, had this thing where he would make bold claims during lectures without citing anything and then get annoyed if students pushed back on it. Classic, I have a PhD so my word